Well, welcome to our short interview series that we're doing on housing and community development issues, interviewing people throughout the country. My name is Mike Loftin. I'm the CEO of Homewise in New Mexico, and I'm a non-resident fellow at the Urban Institute. Today, we have Nick Mitchell-Bennett, who comes from Brownsville, Texas. He works a lot along the border with Come Dream, Come Build. He also heads the Brownsville Multibank. That's a CDFI that does a lot of lending in the valley. Nick's been doing this stuff for a long time. I understand he built over 3,000 homes, which is pretty incredible. One of the biggest home builders in the valley. So I'm really excited about, and I think the audience will be really excited about hearing about your work, Nick, but also about, the valley is different than a lot of the rest of the country, and it's good for people to be exposed more to that. So maybe we could start there. Could you tell us about Brownsville and the Rio Grande Valley and why home ownership is so important to that region?
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for having me. This is great. These interviews have been fantastic over the last couple of weeks. So the Rio Grande Valley is, we're down to the four counties on the furthest south in Texas. Brownsville is being the largest city, and McAllen, the second largest city, kind of bookend the Rio Grande Valley. It's a great place to live. The climate's warm, people are warm, but it's poor. Actually, the Rio Grande Valley is one of the poorest regions of the United States. Brownsville and McAllen battle back and forth to be the poorest city in the United States, although they're working hard to change that, that scenario. But home ownership is very important. We're, 95% of our population is Latino, whether either they immigrated here or were born here. And home ownership is really a very kind of a cultural norm that folks want and I believe deserve. And so, it makes my job easy. People say, you build over 3,000 homes. It's kind of easy when you've got a market of folks who really, really want to buy. And owning a piece of the American dream and a piece of dirt and put a fence around it is super important to them.
Right. Well, I know you've done, one thing that I think a lot of people would find surprising, I found surprising. I mean, most people know that the Rio Grande Valley tends to be pretty low income. You don't think of home prices as being high. You think of it as, being relatively affordable. One, I know you did some research that showed that actually when it comes to affordability and you look at what they call the home price index, Valley's actually pretty expensive because incomes are low, right?
Yeah. The Brownsville Harlingen metro area is the second least affordable market in the state of Texas, and actually this last point in time, it was actually the least unaffordable place when compared to incomes. Even Austin is more affordable than we are, which is crazy. So, obviously you're comparing that to incomes, and that's the only way to look at it.
Right.
Prices have gone up about 28% literally in the last 12 months.
Right.
And that just is crazy because incomes have only risen about maybe 5%, 6%. So we're just not keeping up with the affordability on this end.
Yeah. Now, I think it's surprising because most people are not surprised that people know that Austin is an expensive housing market. We know the coasts are expensive housing markets. We don't think of places like Brownsville and the Rio Grande Valley is expensive. And I think it's just like we make a bunch of assumptions on housing affordability, and we need to be careful with those and really look at the data.
Yeah. No, definitely got to look at the data. And what's going on around in the community. Our big push this time has been the fact that SpaceX has relocated to Brownsville, and they're launching rockets to Mars from Brownsville, and so that drives up the cost quickly, and it really goes to the point of I've been saying is I think this is great. I think the change is fantastic, but the community's got to be ready for it and know how to deal with it and know how to include lower income and middle income folks who are from here and have been here for generations. I never thought I'd use the word gentrification in Brownsville, but we're starting to use it.
Yeah.
And, and I laugh, but it's actually, a point of, I want to cry when I think about it.
No, it's very nutty. I mean, I wrote this paper for Urban Institute on how homeownership is a great form of affordable housing, which is very true over time, right? Because your interest and principal expenses held constant for 30 years. But it's increasingly we're seeing the supply problem. And so the fact that you're a home builder at scale is hugely important. I know in Santa Fe, we're trying to grow our scale of home building. And it's similar to what you just said is like our, the median price of a home went up 30% last year. We looked at wages, they went up 2.7%.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy. So our median price is over 600,000 now. So if we don't build new homes,
yeah,
we're not going to have teachers living here. We're not going to have nurses living here. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's,
no, that's exactly it. We've got to put more houses on the ground and figure out a good way of doing that to keep the prices down.
Right.
And that's really affecting, especially through COVID. Right. And figuring out how to do that is really the holy grail in my world. I mean, just before we got on this call, I've been, I'm working on something to be able to do that. And it's hard. It's very hard.
Right. And what are you working on? Tell us about that.
So
because everyone's interested in the holy grail, man.
Yeah, I know. Right. So CDCB was awarded, one of the 6 awards from the Affordable Housing Breakthrough Challenge that was conducted about a little over a year ago with Wells Fargo and Enterprise. We were one of the winners of the $2.5 million award. And with that, we are really trying to put together our Mi Casita model, which is an affordable housing model built around modular home that grows over time if need be. So a family can come in and buy a smaller unit, like a 1-bedroom, and then it's designed and built to grow by 288 square feet every addition that's added. So if somebody comes in and can buy a complete house of 1,300 square feet or whatever the case may be, then we can do that. But if they can, if they don't have the ability to buy something larger, they can go smaller. So building it in our new modular factory that we are just kicking off this month, with 6 new prototypes coming out, as well as then combining that with a loan product that grows with the home. And so putting all those things together are really, really what is taking up my time, and trying to figure out how we can build a house for 15% less than what's currently being built as a stick-built home on site.
Right. And when you say the loan grows with the house, is like, so you just modify the mortgage as they add a room. You don't have
to just modify and refinance. We'll hold all those mortgages in a seasoning pool. Yeah. And then when the house completes, we'll sell them into the secondary market.
No, very, very, very smart and very innovative. And this is part of you pioneered this idea of giving people more choice in their home selection, right? The conventional wisdom is you got to build a production home. It's cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And you said, no, let's get people more what they want. Tell us about your whole choice initiative.
Yeah. When looking at it, and this is kind of existential, right? But it's like when you think about who, if you're a upper middle class person, and you think about all the choices you had in your life, your parents may have had the choice of where you went to school, and choice of, where you ate dinner, and, all these choices that are given to us. And really it's empowering. Having choices is a very empowering thing. But when looked at it, low income folks, folks who are struggling day to day, don't have a whole lot of choice. And, when it comes down to just how much they make per hour, and, and stand in this line and do this and do that, and you really don't have the choice. And even in the affordable housing world, right, we figured affordability meant rapid intake, rapid development, and limited choice gives you affordability. And we said, no. We still want to do rapid intake and approval process and the development process, but we need to figure out how we give people choices. And even if they're limited choices, they're still a choice, right? I mean, somebody gets approved for, $85,000 mortgage. Well, what do you want with that 85,000, right? It's, in the affordable housing world, they say, well, here's your 3 models, pick. And you feel like that's choice. It's kind of like, well, not really. If folks want a big bathroom because they have 5 kids and they need 2 sinks, then God bless them. Let's build them a bigger bathroom and, shrink the size of the rooms for them. Whatever the case may be, they have that choice. And so we've set up a whole process where they work with, with Building Community Workshop, which is a nonprofit design firm here in Brownsville and in Texas, and have actually figured out a process to keep the prices down as they're working with a architect and with our builders, and they have that choice. And that choice then ripples through their lives. If they got that choice to design their own home and pick this and pick that, and not just the color, right? But like the size of the bedrooms and whether they want a big porch or a little porch, or those are really, really important. And not only this, pride of home ownership, and that's important, but we want them to be more engaged in the voting process. We want them to be more engaged in their church or their synagogue or their neighborhood watch or their baseball league for their kid. All of that comes from giving people power. And, I just build houses and lend money. Right. If I can change the world in any way, it's really to give people more power. And we think that choice gives them that power.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's kind of the polar opposite of the old public housing model of get on a waiting list. We're not going to tell you how long you're going to be on it.
Right.
And when we have a unit, that's the unit you get. Right.
Right.
And so,
exactly.
it's great. Well, tell us about like looking out on into the future. What do you see as the housing issues that we're going to be facing, opportunities or problems?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we have to wait for the future. I think it's happening now. Affordability is obviously the big question. Is like, how do we keep houses affordable? And then, how do we bring in the investment from institutions that have the money to invest in it? And how do we get them to understand how important it is to invest in home ownership, that over the long term, it's better for their banks or their lending institution, their philanthropy, if we're all doing better. And you and I both know, after 30, 40 years of doing this, that home ownership does that. And so, as well as, there's government cuts, that's the whole reason for Mi Casita. It's like, there's not enough subsidy. I need $50,000 in subsidy and I can't afford that. The government's not going to give me that. Philanthropy is definitely not doing that for us. Right. Especially in persistent poverty locations, like the Rio Grande Valley, like Indian Country, like the Delta, like Appalachia. So the big issues are affordability and all of the things that are wrapped into that, as well as the investment from both federal, state, and bigger, private institutions like Freddie and Fannie and the federal home loan banks. They're all very much wrapped up in, this cookie cutter loan product idea. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, no, lending money is different here than it is in Pine Ridge, and so let's figure out how we can scale yet be very different in the locations where it needs to be different.
Right. Have you seen, I had this same kind of conversation with John O'Callahan out of Atlanta, who and he's had some luck with getting philanthropy stepping up more to help on the home ownership stuff. I think a lot because people are concerned about the racial wealth gap and they see home ownership as an important way to help close that. Are you seeing philanthropy stepping up more to focus on home ownership, or are they still kind of, the rental thing?
Yeah, it's, so in the Rio Grande Valley, historically, it's about $45 per capita in philanthropy money that's been invested historically into the Rio Grande Valley, as opposed to in New York City, it's about $900 per capita. And in the Bay Area, it's like $4,500 per capita. Wow. So, could it get better in the Valley? Well, damn, it's not hard, right? Let's get to $55 per capita. You know what I mean? So yeah, we've seen a little bit. We've seen some foundations kind of stepping into it and saying, this group is working a lot with Latinos. And I mean, come on, is that really hard for us to do that? We're 95% Latino, but if, we can take their money, we will. I'm hoping that the little bit of change we're seeing is the new normal. And they do start seeing, folks that I serve as a great investment in this country and in this region and in their philanthropy or their lending institution. But they're not knocking down the doors, but things are getting a little bit better. The real question is, is it sustainable, and is it going to keep? Are they going to keep seeing this as important, or is it just the new shiny thing? And
no, it'd be nice to see philanthropy step up in a sustainable way.
Yeah,
it could really, really help. Anyway, Nick, this is a great conversation. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing about
it with you.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to be very interested in the work you're doing, and both in the Valley and your choice thing, and your, the innovations you're doing, helping, building a home that you can grow over time and grow the mortgage. It's cool stuff.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.